Welcome to lesson 3.5. So we're wrapping up our equations unit. So we're going to be talking about multi-step equations. So multi-step equations is anything more than one step. So it can be a 2-step, a 3-step, 4-step, 5-step. But we have some different types of solutions to equations. So strictly, we have been working with one solution. We get x equals a number, right? So that means that x equals this specific number. That is one solution. And so when we also have two other options, and it's no solution and infinitely many solution. No solution happens when we have a false statement, okay? So when we have a false statement, we have no solutions. Infinitely many solution means that any number that you want to pick for the equation would make it a true statement. So we get a true statement if it's infinitely many solutions. And I'll show you what that means in just a second. So one solution is like x equals a number. No solution is a false statement. That means any number you pick, they would not make a true statement. That means there is no number that x could be to be that, and then infinitely many solutions means you get a true statement. So for one solution, I have 3x plus 5 equals 2x minus 10. So first things first, we need to isolate the variable. We need to get the variable by itself. So since it's on both sides of the equal sign, we have to move one of them. So since I have positive 2x, I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. Okay, so then I have 3x minus x, which is x, so x plus 5 equals negative 10. So then I'm going to subtract 5, and I get x equals negative 15. That's a one solution. The only number that makes this statement true, this equation true, is negative 15. No solution is when we have a false statement. So I have 4x plus 12 equals 4x minus 10. So think about it this way. We're saying 4 times a number plus 12, and then 4 times a number minus 10. Is there any number that's going to make those match? No, because you're multiplying by 4 and then adding 12 or subtracting 10. You're never going to get the same result. However, you can show this mathematically. So we're going to subtract 4x on both sides, and if you notice, both of those cancel. 4x minus 4x is 0, and 4x minus 4x is 0. So all I'm left with is 12 equals negative 10. Now, you just got to think, does 12 equal negative 10? No, that's a false statement, so that means no solution. Okay, so because it's a false statement, it means it is absolutely no solution. And then all solution or infinitely many solutions, we're going to subtract 4x. Same thing. It's a similar equation, but not quite. So we're going to subtract 4x. And what I'm left with, the 4x's cancel. 4x minus 4x is 0. 4x minus 4x is 0. So what I'm left with is 12 equals 12. Now, is that a true or a false statement? Does 12 equal 12? That is a true statement, so that means infinitely many solutions. And essentially what that means is you can pick x equals any number, and you would end up with a true statement. Okay, so now let's open up the foldable. So we're just going to have a variety of equations to solve, and we're just going to figure out what type of we're going to find the solution and then what type of solution it is. So it's either one solution, no solution, or infinitely many solutions. So I have 3x plus 10 equals 3x plus 12. So I'm going to move the variable first. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. Remember, you can only combine like terms. You can't do 3x plus 10 or 10 minus 3x. It has to have the exact same variable part. So 3x minus 3x is 0, so I'm left with 10 equals 12. That is a false statement. It is false. So your answer is no solution. that it would be your answer to the equation. There is no solution because 10 does not equal 12. Okay, so then I have negative 2x plus 10 equals 2x plus 30. So first thing we're going to do is move one of the variables. So you can move any of them. It doesn't matter. You just have to be mindful you want the variables on one side and the numbers on the other. So I'm going to add 4x, or not 4x, excuse me, add 2x because I have negative 2x right here. So I'm going to do the opposite. So the opposite of negative is positive, so we're going to add 2x on both sides. Okay, so then negative 2x plus 2x, that cancels. So I'm left with 10 equals 2x plus 2x is 4x plus 30. Okay, now I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to subtract 30 because we're adding, so we're going to do the opposite. So then I'm left with 4x equals 10 minus 30 is negative 20. So then my last step is I'm going to divide by 4, and x equals negative 5. So that is my solution. And since x equals a number, that would be considered one solution. Okay, it is one solution. So now I'm going to go to the next one. So 10 times 4x minus 5 equals negative 40. I'm going to distribute. So then I'm left with 40x minus 50 equals negative 40. Okay, then I'm going to add 50 on both sides. So I have 40x equals negative 40 plus 50 is positive 10. Then I'm going to divide by 40. And so x equals 1/4, or if you wrote it as a decimal, it's 0.25. That is a 1 solution. X is that specific number, 1/4. Okay, that's the only number that makes this equation a true equation, makes it solvable. It's the answer. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I have 2 times 3x minus 2 equals 6x minus 4. So the first thing I have to do is my distributive property. So 2 times 3x and 2 times negative 2. So that's 6x minus 4 equals 6x minus 4. Now, you already noticed they're the same. So that means it's going to be infinitely many solutions. But if you didn't, you can always subtract 6x on both sides. And what I'm left with is negative 4 equals negative 4. That is a true statement. So that means that there is infinitely many solutions. So that would be your answer, infinitely many solutions, because it is a true statement. So now I have negative 5x plus 13 equals negative 5x plus minus 17. So I'm going to add 5x on both sides. And if you notice, those are both going to cancel. Those are both going to cancel. Negative 5x plus 5x is 0. Negative 5x plus 5x is 0. So I have 13 equals negative 17. Now, does positive 13 equal negative 17? No. So that's a false statement. So that means my conclusion, my answer, is no solution. There is no number that makes that work. Okay? So my answer is no solution. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. Negative 4 times negative 2x plus 7 equals 28. So this is most likely going to be a one solution. 8x minus 28 equals 28. So now I have to do the inverse operation. So I'm going to add 28 on both sides. So then I have 8x equals 56. Then I'm going to divide by 8. And x equals 7. So that means we have one solution, and that solution specifically is 7. Okay, so if you get x equals a number or m equals whatever the variable is, if you get that variable equals one number, that means it's one solution. Okay, so then I have 2x minus 10 equals 4x minus 10. So first things first, we're going to get the variables together. You can either get the numbers together, then the variables, or you can do the variables, then the numbers. It's going to end up being the same exact solution as long as you mathematically do it correct. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. So then on this side, I'm left with negative 10 equals 4x minus 2x is 2x minus 10. So then remember, the goal is to get the variable by itself, so I'm going to add 10 on both sides. Now if you notice, I'm left with 2x equals 0. Now that does not mean that there is no solution, because what number times 2 is going to be 0? It's going to be 0, because if we divide by 2 on both sides, then that just means x is equal to 0. So that means this is a 1 solution. The solution is x is 0. That's the only number that makes that equation work. So if you get 0, don't panic and say there's no solution. It just means that x is probably going to be 0, okay, if you're multiplying with x. So I have 12x minus 7 equals 5 times 3x plus 10. So the first thing we need to do is the distributive property. Okay, so then I'm left with 12x minus 7 equals 15x plus 50. Okay, so what I'm going to do is move the 15x. You can move the 12x if you wanted. It doesn't matter. As long as you mathematically do it correctly, you're going to end up with the same answer. Okay, so 12x minus 15x is going to be negative 3x. Negative 3x minus 7 equals 50. Then I'm going to add 7 on both sides. So then I have negative 3x equals 57. Then I'm going to divide by negative 3. And so x equals 57 divided by 3, negative 3, which is negative 19. So my solution is negative 19, so that means it's one solution. And if I ask you what is the solution is negative 19. Okay, and now last one, 5x plus 13 equals negative 5x minus 17. So this one's similar to this one, but it's a little different. If you notice, on the first equation, the 5x's were both negatives. This one is not, so it's not going to be the same solution. If something changes, it's going to be different. So what I'm going to do is add 5x on both sides. So negative 5x plus 5x, that cancels. 5x plus 5x is 10x. So I have 10x plus 13 equals negative 17. Then I'm going to subtract by 13 on both sides. So now I have 10x equals negative 17 minus 13 is negative 30. And then I'm going to divide by 10. And x equals negative 3. So that would be a 1 solution. So remember, if you get x equals a number or whatever the variable is equals a number, that means it's one solution. If you get a false statement, that means it's no solution. And if you get a true statement, that is infinitely many solutions. So that's it for lesson 3.5. Bye.